Today's video it's the proof of concept, because I've been recently watching, I guess for the 21st time, the movie called Ready Player One, and the mechanics of vehicle construction that Percival has on his DeLorean. I actually wanted to recreate it. The result that I achieve is not exactly the one that you can see in the movie, but it's quite valuable, and it can be achieved within like 10-20 minutes. So let's get started. So let's start with the shader. It's the whole material setup that you need to recreate. It actually consists of several masks. First of all, it's unlit, masked, and two-sided. That's all. We can adjust color, and as you can see, we do actually have some attributes that we will change with the blueprint logic. As you saw from the demo, the whole construction starts with the grid, which is growing up from the bottom to top, and from the middle points on the forward vector on the both sides till our bounds are achieved. Next, it's covered all the model and starts becoming more solid. And then we switch the material for our car. So this one is the mask for our grid. This operation here and here are for masking out the bounds of our model and color them as if they are gradients. This is for the middle points on our forward vector. This from our bottom to our top on our z-axis. Of course, I need to combine everything with the Fresnel to achieve the contour of our model, and the intents of the Fresnel is changed within our blueprint. So, to make the grid, we use camera relative world position, so the results are much more interesting. We use F mode. F mode will return the floating value of the operation. So if we, for instance, divide 10 by 3, it will return 1. And this will help us to create bands. Here, we need to multiply it on our output value. So if you take a look at this node, it will return only one quarter. This will return the whole object count with the bands. Let me show you. Or just let me show you which with the result of RGB mask. So I forgot that the output result is not normalized. So I guess we need to go okay. Let me show you how it looks on the quarter. So as you can see, only one part, depending on the camera view, is covered with the grid. Everything is only bands on each particular axis. So this operation multiplying by the same value will come and restrict this sort of grids. Masking out the particular x will return the bands depending on the direction. So if you want to have the construction which starts from bottom to top and it's not with the grids, something like the metropolis teleportation effect, you can go with masking out the b value. Next thing, as you can see, you need to actually inverse the result of the whole operation. So we need to mask out only the thin bands here, not these thick areas inside. The reason why I start showing this saturate node is that I want to show you how the grid opacity here works. As you can see, we have max nodes, and this one is going for the bands or our thin lines of the grid opacity. If we go with the value -1, we will receive dots. It's the beginning stage of our construction. Next, with the value of 0, we receive solid lines. We have our grid. And of course, on the final construction, it's fully covered model. So this grid opacity will be changed from our blueprint. The dots by 1 will actually return the proper angle, so we can see our bands. Masking out the bounds with the gradient. So let me show you with the debug sign node how it looks. We need object bounds and learn the positive and negative values with the object opacity. To make the whole animation start from the middle point till our bounds are reached, we need to actually go with -1 node to A and object bounds to B. But to make it just more clear, I actually inverted the object opacity for the alpha. So, if we get the local position and mask the R chain, we will receive the forward vector of our object, and with 1 - x and the simple R mask, if we combine everything together, like this, with the result of this operation, we will receive the gradient that starts from the middle point and until our bounds are reached. So this one combined with the B mask over Z axis will actually end up with the result of the proper construction, where we start from our bottom to our top and from middle to the bounds on the x-axis, with the dots that are going to become the grid, and then the whole object is covered with the particular color. and then we switch the material. And of course, don't forget to add the Fresnel to our masking result. As we said, intensity of the Fresnel is also changing. So it starts with almost invisible contour and end up with the contour of our car. Next thing is to create the material instance of this master material. And provide the default values with which we need to start changing the logic in our blueprint. We can do this in the blueprint on the event begin play, but to make it less nodes, I ended up with setting the attributes here in the material instance. So grid opacity 0 means our dots. Object opacity, this one, should be 0.5. Because we are mixing two masks, the animation each starts from the middle point. We don't need to have the fall from 0 to 1 gradient. We need the half of it. So that's because, because of this, our start point is 0.5 and we need to end up with the 1. So 0.5 means not happens. Grid count is also I decided to make it here, but you can go with the blueprint logic. Next thing is our blueprint. So let's continue. So the blueprint logic of our car, of our DeLorean. As you can see, I do have my static mesh here. By default, the relative scale of the model is set to be something small. It should not be 0, because if we have the 0, the engine will return the error. And as you can see, I do have some default materials. This is actually how my model looks. So that's the preparation stage. So on event begin play, I create a material instance of my construction material. Then from my model, I store its default materials. Next thing, like the construction is changed via the timeline. I set play rate so it can be adjustable, so I don't need to adjust the timeline itself. That's why I divide the time I need to change with 1. Next, I do have the custom event, which is called SetupMaterials. This one. This custom event has the boolean. It's called default. It means like all this function does is just switching the materials from one to other. And it depends, like on this flag. If it's default, it means that we should return our default materials. If it's false, not default, we need to end up with the construction materials. So, on the preparation stage, start material should be default false. So, when we start our animation, we need to start it with the proper materials. And then I call spawn. Spawn is also the custom event which triggers the construction stage, the timeline. Construction stage is simple from 0 to 1 timeline, and because I do have the set play rate, I can adjust the time I need for my car to be reconstructed. It's quite adjustable. On update, I store the value as the delta, and then I check if my material is valid. So if it's not, then nothing will happen. Then I use set scaling attribute on the object capacity, and it's this one. I use map of the value I have here. So incoming is 0, end result is 1, 0 and 1. And it should be converted from 0.5, our begin stage, to 1, our fully covered model. Next, just adjust the color. So we begin with the glow green and end up with the almost black color. Next is to add some motion to our model. So that's why I use set world rotation of my model, and start point is 0, or it can be like, yeah, it should be 0, because every time we spawn our model, it should be like 0 is okay. And then we actually rotate it on our our z-axis, and we use delta because it's from 0 to 1 as alpha. Next, I use set relative scale, so my model is growing up, and default value is here. So I got the same here as the A, and the X point is 2.25 each axis. Next, I check whether the delta equals 1. If it's so, I don't need to make this sort of flags. It means our car is ready, the construction is done, and if it's false, it should be false. To not resetting these attributes over all timeline, I need to do this only once. So that's why I do have sequences. The first one is going to execute the ones, the opposite one on the second stage will reset the first one entrance here. The same goes for the ones on our second stage of our like false condition. So do ones here, and then from the first one to the Z of the second one. Next, on the finish, I check whether actually my model is destroyed. So, for instance, if I need to, like, I press the key, I spawn my car, then I suddenly want to destroy it. That's why I use the same key, and it checks whether the destroy function is called. This destroy boolean is changed within this destroy custom event, which actually for the first entrance is going to reverse animation. So our car is deconstructed, and then it sets the destroy boolean to true, and both of the finish here and our destroy have the same logic. We check whether our animation is ready. If it's so, we need to set materials in case we don't need to destroy our model. We need to return our default materials, so we need to see our car. If we are destroying, we check whether ready or destroyed animation is done, and then we need to set up our materials to the previous stage. While I was telling this, I suddenly realized that this can be omitted, because if it's destroyed, when we spawn our model again, we'll actually go with this one. So this can be withdrawn. And next is the final stage of this tutorial. The third person character. This logic. So on F key, I use flip-flop for spawning and respawning my car. I use spawn actor with the class of DeLorean. Here I decide where I should spawn it. So for this I use my camera rotation and the position of my character minus some points, so my car is a little bit lower than my character is standing. And then I check if I need to destroy it. If my DeLorean is valid, I call the destroy custom event using this as the reference, and then I use DeLorean as the invalid. So I invalidate the reference, and that's actually it. So that's it. That's the whole theme. Hope you like what you have seen. As always, under the description to this video, I will leave the link to the sample project. Also, my Patreon, my Discord, everything is valid. So please subscribe, press like, and leave feedback, and see you soon, guys.